So once again, good afternoon, friends. Little louder. Good afternoon. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, need to shake it up a little bit. We are having this session on the natural gas, and I think it's very appropriate to see the topic, the theme, fueling the future. That we find and we anticipate that natural gas would definitely play a major role as a fuel, as an energy source in the coming years, and we already see many things happening. We have three eminent speakers with us here. Mr. Ravi from GAIL, we know it's one of the biggest company dealing with gas business in the country here. I'm sure he's going to share some of the thoughts how GAIL is looking at the overall gas business in the country and what are the new initiatives that the GAIL proposes to undertake. We have also our speaker James, who would bring in a totally different perspective from the legal framework, from the issues that are important when you go about and trying to establish a terminal or infrastructure for gas business and things associated with that. Then we have Madarinkil Bagga, who is from a well-known consultant. So I think we have a very balanced panel here, and we'll like to listen to her as to how the consultant feels now with respect to the overall natural gas opportunities, how things are moving worldwide, and very importantly in the country. I'll make few just initial thoughts here, which I think are important. Natural gas is the fastest growing fossil fuel energy source when we compare with other alternatives there. This sector is very vibrant. We see very exciting things happening worldwide. We can perhaps call it that there are certain disruptive actions, initiatives also taking place worldwide, and I'm sure some of them would be reflected by our speakers here. We also agree that natural gas definitely is a preferred fuel, preferred energy source, being cheaper than the alternate liquid fuels. So very broadly, that means that if we replace all the crude oil that the country imports and substitute by gas, you would make actually a huge savings. But then that's not easy, because you need to create a very specific infrastructure for the market. But I think the opportunity is recognized, and there are several initiatives that are being taken. It is also important that in the first session we talked about, and we all were sensitized by how important it is to really look at emissions control. Also the commitment particularly India has made towards reducing the emissions, and in that perspective natural gas assumes a greater importance when it comes to fuel. So what are the options that we need to take? And we have an example, a ready example of our neighbor China, where the emissions have actually sharply dipped. And the main reason has been that replacing other polluting fuels by natural gas as a government initiative has really resulted into an immediate impact on the reduction of emissions. Why can't India do that? The question is that how far we can do that. Also in the overall global market, India cannot remain isolated, because we import practically 50% of our gas requirement, and here I must caution, because demand may be more, because we have not really structured study in terms of gas demand, because several regions are not connected with pipelines. So we have a large latent demand that has not been captured. But then right now, the contribution of imported gas, LNG, has gone slightly higher than the domestic gas production in terms of actual gas available. So what are the major issues for India? I think if we see from the point of view that there is a requirement of a cleaner fuel, it fits in well. With availability, we see worldwide what is all happening, and I'll just share a few things on that. This couldn't have been a better time for India to actually capitalize on the opportunity which is presented by global players on this. And third, of course, is the affordability, the pricing. I think, again, this is the best time for India to really see and capture the low prices that are prevailing. And perhaps for a coming few years, the prices may remain at the same level. So it's a great opportunity for India for really look at that. In this perspective, we should also really link it with what the government has declared its intention, and our Prime Minister some time back had said, why not transition to a gas-based economy? Now, what is actually a gas-based economy? How much gas that we consume should make it a gas-based economy? I think we are falling short quite a lot in terms of that. But I think initiatives like, for example, CGD, City Gas Distribution, where in the last two 9th and 10th rounds of bidding, a large part of the country has been, geographical areas have been offered, which will be touching the large part of the country as such. And I'm told that even the 11th round is getting ready. So I think it's a great initiative to really capture all the major cities that can offer an opportunity for gas to be made available to each customer, whether it's a household or an industrial customer or a commercial customer, or it is for the CNG automotive sector. All those opportunities are very much there. And therefore, I think we should look at that, what is all globally happening. So some of the things that are actually happening globally and are very much important to take note of that is, number one, we have seen that in the last couple of years, particularly 2015, 16, 17, partly 18, there were no major investments were coming up in the LNG field globally. But right now we see major investment happening, and particularly in the new projects as also in expansion projects in some of the leading gas exporting countries like Qatar, Russia, Mozambique, Papua New Guinea, United States and the Canada. And about approximately 185 million tons per annum capacity is going to be added, and this includes some of the what we can call is a wave 1 LNG in US. Those projects, so those expansions are coming up now. So that excludes. So if you include that, I think it goes around 200 plus million tons per annum of capacity coming up in the country, which is huge globally, which is huge. Most of these projects would be commissioned in a time frame for 2023-24. We also see, and I'm sure James would be dealing with some of those, that some of the new approaches to the implementing these projects are coming up, like new financing business models. New business models are evolving, which attract investments like equity financing, cost-based business models, offering equity and also presence in the entire value chain of the project. And we definitely see the Chinese banks are the leading investment investors. And of late, of course, we are seeing that their focus is most on the projects which are outside US. And I think this is a kind of a after effect of the sanctions that were there imposed on the China by the United States. It is remarkable to see that the cost reduction initiatives by some of the projects have been really significant, and the cost of liquefaction target is about $500 to $700 US per ton. And you can imagine when the costs sometime few years back used to be about over $1,500, this thing. This is a remarkable reduction of the costs. Also, we see that the approach to the projects have changed or are changing right now. Multiple small-scale liquefaction trains are being attempted. Prefabricated trains are being used there. Different concepts like we see in some of the challenging projects, gravity-based infrastructure structures are being constructed there. So whole sort of new initiatives are being attempted there. So with this abundance of LNG, this kind of a second wave of investment coming in LNG, the availability of LNG is going to only increase. And this liquidity, this availability and proliferation of the sources for India, I think offers a great opportunity for India to really look at that. At the same time, we must be also conscious that this availability, abundance and proliferation also has impact on the pricing. The behavior of the seller as also the buyer are changing. We see that the volumes that are being contracted per contract are reducing. We also see a significant diminishing of the tenure of the contracts. There's a lot of flexibility that is coming up in terms of pricing structure, destination clauses. All that matters and gives advantages both to the seller as also the purchaser. Even in the supply quantities and payment structures also, there's a lot of flexibility that is coming up from both the buyer and the seller's perspective on that. With all that changes that globally is happening, India definitely is not going to be isolated, and there's a great opportunity for them, I see, to capitalize on that. In the spot market, which is a direct impact of this abundance, we see some very, very unprecedented prices. The LNG cargo being contracted in India in less than $4 a million BTU, which is not seen for many, many years of that. So I think that's the kind of opportunity that exists, and I'm sure more issues will be dealt with our panelists here. We will get along with their presentation. At the end of that, I'd like you to have the opportunity to also raise your issues, questions, and I think we'll have a vibrant session here. So with that, opening remarks here, I would first request James to come and make a presentation, maybe around 15 minutes, James, on that. Thank you very much.